Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. That could have been a disaster, no doubt about it. So I know we are all annoyed with what happened in the D zone and Carter Hart not playing strong, but here's the reality of the situation. The alternative was you lost 3 straight games, losing to the Penguins, losing to Washington, losing to the Buffalo Sabres. That's a nightmare scenario right now, especially a team without Jack Eichel. And let's be realistic, even with Jack Eichel, the Sabres suck. They're a bad hockey team. And I hated seeing Sam Reinhart wide open in soft areas of the ice. And I hated seeing Taylor Hall buzz around the offensive zone and create so many chances. I couldn't stand watching Montour score, although that was the only one that I could say, all right, whatever, bad puck luck, as it hit off Shane Gostisbehere's stick and went top shelf over Brian Elliott as soon as he got thrown into the game when Carter Hart did not come out for that second period. So I understand the circumstances. I value finding a way here because 2 points, the fact that they got both points, if they would have lost in overtime or lost in a shootout, I would have been hurt. It would have felt awful inside. But the fact that they grabbed dose amount of points, it is so important for the morale of this club right now, for the locker room. And you could see in the third period that they were the better team, they were the stronger team, and they had better talent. It just came down to executing and grinding through it. And it's so ironic that special teams was such a big play for tonight. You had a power play goal late by Shane Gostisbehere, who put a blast on net. I thought maybe Travis Konechny tipped it or JVR. The reaction, by the way, from Travis Konechny, there's a shot of him skating towards Ghost after the goal, and he's just mouthing words. It looks like he threw a fuck you in there, or a fuck yeah, or fuck something, but he was stoked, and it made me want to run through a damn brick wall. I really did recognize in that moment that the power of how the boys were fired up was definitely going to snowball. And I think it even started before that because Claude Giroux, and this wasn't a power play goal, but it was 3 seconds or so after the power play ended. And I got to give credit to Travis Sanheim for even forcing the hook to occur. Jeff Skinner, as Sanheim goes from the blue line in the offensive zone, great stick handling, cuts to the net, has room, takes the space. Looks like he's going backhand. Jeff Skinner throws a hook on him. That allowed the Flyers to get a man advantage. And jokingly, just like everybody else right now in this city, when it comes to the orange and the black, I was asking, do we even want it? Do we even need the man advantage? I'd rather take the 5-on-5 play. It looks like that they're generating some sort of offense right now. Why even have a chance to mess it up? Can we decline this one, please? But just a couple seconds after the power play, the puck goes to Jake Voracek around the goal line. Nice sauce to Claude Giroux backdoor. And he was winning puck battles, stick battles in the crease. And that determination and that focus level and the way that his facial expression showed, we are going to win this game from the captain. I think that really was a big domino effect to how I saw Travis Konechny with the Fire and how I saw Shane Gostisbehere as well. It starts with what the captain did to score that greasy goal just about 2 inches from the goal line. Really, he was basically in the crease, just finding a way to get it past Johansson. So, look, you keep seeing common themes with this team, right? They score a goal, they allow a goal. It's frustrating, and it happened 2 times in this game. They started out the scoring with Travis Sanheim up at the blue line, keeps the puck in the offensive zone, throws it down low, and here's Joel Farabee, Sean Couturier, and JVR tic-tac-toe. It's seriously like the line of Coneheads for a miracle. I love it. Looks like we're taking a line of Coneheads to New York or to Lake Placid or whatever the line is. Looks like we're taking the line of Coneheads. That's what I feel I'm watching when these guys are out there tic-tac-toe. But you seriously allow a goal just moments later. And when I see the way that the Buffalo Sabres scored, it annoys me. Phil Myers down by the goal line. Sean Couturier down by the goal line. And that allows Sam Reinhart to just be in this soft area on the ice where he's got space. There's too much space. Some might look at it and go, well, you know, the defenseman was kind of there and his skates were facing upwards, which it's supposed to stick out. Carter Hart should make the save. And yeah, I'm with you. I don't think Carter Hart was sharp. But I also think that that's way too much room in the NHL. You can't give someone like Sam Reinhart that much space to operate and to put a puck with like a nice one-touch snapshot far side like that. You got to close your gaps. And realistically, you can't be losing battles down below. Myers and Sean Couturier, you got to do a better job. So when they ended up making it, this is when, it was when Scott Lawton, it was when Scott Lawton in the second period came out flying. Him and Kevin Hayes, this play was outstanding, by the way. Puts the puck in between his legs as he's skating down the right side, threads the needle to Kevin Hayes' back door with a really unique angle, puts it past Johansson. Awesome, right? Absolutely awesome. You get shredded moments later. 3 minutes or so later, here comes the Sabres creeping back in. Sam Reinhart. I mean, come on! And Travis Konecny. Here's what bothers me. So Justin Braun, this is why I have trouble. Because in no way, shape, or form should I imagine Justin Braun being able to keep up with someone like Taylor Hall. Taylor Hall's a stud. The guy won MVP of the league just a handful of years ago when bringing the New Jersey Devils to this nice run. He is a star, right? For sure. So should I expect Justin Braun to be able to hang? Absolutely not. Justin Braun is a cone. So he stops moving his feet. He's using his arm and his stick to reach as Taylor Hall is beating him behind the net. And Travis Konecny isn't close enough in gap where Sam Reinhart is in this soft area in the slot. Now, I mean, yes, it's a soft area, but it's grade A scoring chance. This is no-brainer. Make sure he doesn't get the puck. And he scores glove side on Carter Hart. And I didn't even talk about the Sabres' second goal where Kevin Hayes gets beat to the net, goes from the corner to the net, and wide open in the slot, they throw a backhand past Carter Hart. So a lot of glove side goals, by the way. 2 of those 3 goals were glove side on Carter. That's a common theme. I think teams are starting to realize that. Teams are starting to study that. Teams are preparing for Carter Hart, and they do like to shoot glove side on him. But when I see 3 goals that embarrassing when it comes to down low work in your own zone, that's an issue. And I get a lot of questions right now. What do you think about Carter Hart? Should we give up on Carter Hart? That one's hysterical to me. This is why when we talked about this years ago when Ron Hextall was the GM, and he did wait too long. Obviously, Carter Hart deserves to be in the league and grow through these pains. But we did say this isn't normal. This isn't standard. You don't have a 20-year-old netminder getting thrown into the NHL and being a franchise guy. That's not how this works. It's not normal to have that. So to expect that, well, that's flawed. You need to understand that there's going to be confidence issues. There's going to be times when he gets scored on. These players are going to adapt to him. This is reality, and it doesn't help that your decor, and not even your decor, your 5 men in front of you, 5 men, it's a unit. They're not structurally sound positionally, and that's going to be a problem. I relate this to what we saw with the Philadelphia Eagles this past season. We all saw Carson Wentz struggle. But if you think that the only reason why the offense looked that putrid was just because of Carson Wentz, you're not doing your homework. Doug Peterson's play design was very poor, led the league with vertical routes when the offensive line was on their 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, different starting 5. Injuries played a role. Lack of talent just from the jump played a big role. Quarterback play was bad. Not running the football enough. There were 6, 7 reasons that we could talk about that played a role. If you look at a pie chart, there's a lot of things in play. And it's not as if some of these were 2% and Carson Wentz was 98. They all played a role. So when your defensive players are getting outworked in the corners, that's step number 1. That's wrong. And then when your center is maybe making a flyby and not stopping and starting in your D zone, that's problem number 2. And when your forwards are not covering the guys that they are supposed to, that's problem number 3. And then when Carter Hart is not sharp, that's problem number 4. I'll say it like this. I don't put the blame on Carter Hart every time there's a guy wide open like we saw tonight in Reinhart. Those are supposed to go in for the most part. With that being said, Carter Hart can do a better job at making those bigger saves. We have seen him make those saves. He does need to come up bigger. He does need to come up clutch. He can make some of those timely saves at a better rate than he is right now, and that's where I'm at. So There's problems all around him, and he can also be a stronger version of himself. But Brian Elliott right now is playing with a lot of confidence. He's doing the exact opposite of what Carter Hart's doing. He's playing with some swag. He's playing very well. I'm just scared and worried about his age, because when you get this old and now you start to become more of a starter than you are a backup, especially with how much they're playing right now, are you going to get the same production? Or is it going to dip off a bit because, well, he's been playing so damn hot because you haven't been relying on him as much. So when he does get out there, he's fresher. That's something that I look at, but there's no doubt that Brian Elliott is playing very big, and he's playing very well. He's coming up strong. The only goal he allowed today was one that hit off Ghost stick and ends up going top shelf on him when he gets a second period run. Takes a little bit of time to get yourself into it, to get yourself focused, to get yourself prepared to take a couple shots first. So then you recognize, all right, I'm in this game. Get a feel of the game. Take one off the shoulder, high shoulder. Take one off the blocker. Waffle board it away into the corner. Maybe you get a puck behind the goal line and you make a nice outlet pass. Something of that nature to just get yourself engaged in the game properly. And unfortunately, there was a rip from Montour who just let it fly and it found its way. It seemed at that point, one of those games, right, where that is so unfortunate. All the other ones, I can put the blame in a lot of different areas. On that one specifically, I think it's just bad puck luck. But I can't stress it enough. They escaped something that could have been so miserable. They possibly just escaped something that could have forced them to go so downhill and at such a quick pace. Who knows? We could look back at this and say, wow, did that somewhat save the trajectory of the season? And I don't want to make it seem like, this was the season changer to like this wild level. But who knows? Let's look at their schedule here as I have their schedule. I got the Sixers schedule, Flyers schedule, Philly schedule, all rocking on my big-ass desk calendar here. So they have the Capitals again on Thursday. They have the Capitals again on Friday. They have the Rangers early next week on Monday. They play the Rangers again on Wednesday. They have the Islanders. So they got some, specifically two, the next two games against the Capitals. The Capitals are a better team than them right now. There's no doubt about that. So just think about what this win really does. Now, if you go out and lose both to Washington anyway, well then, yeah, you're not looking back at this win as something significant. But let's say they beat Washington on their next night when they play on Thursday. Just think about what that can mean. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too far ahead here, but I do know this. A 3-game losing skid with 2 games going up against Washington coming up next. Yeah, well, guess what? That could be really scary, and that could be really brutal. And from that aspect, I'm proud of them for grinding through it. And it should have never been this way. I think we're all aware that they should have been able to destroy this team. They just shut them out both games in a weekend, 3-0, 3-0, with both netminders producing a shutout. Now, you can't anticipate that every single time you go up against a team. And there was one thing that made me feel it was going to be Buffalo's night prior to puck even dropping. And that's the fact that they're on like an 8-game losing streak or something like that. They've been really awful, and they haven't been able to win in quite some time. So they're due, right? This isn't the NBA. This is the NHL, where the worst team in the league isn't a 12-win team, 13-win team, 14-win team. You still win games as a losing squad, and one of the worst teams in the league, you still win a high 20s type of game, 30 type of game, right? So you're going to find ways to win. You would think eventually that losing streak would snap, and I thought, wow, this would be the perfect time for that to happen, don't you think? If there was going to be one time for this to go down, it's probably going to be against the Flyers. Just because that's kind of how it feels to this point. But they really did hold strong, and that's huge. And something else that is very strong and important in my life is DeSimone Jewelers. They are the best in the jewelry business. I've experienced going to them a handful of times now when it comes to that special birthday gift, that special Christmas gift, and even my engagement ring. And when I tell you they sit you down and they treat you like family, that's exactly what it does. And they also educate you. They teach you about this. They give you all sorts of tools, and you look at the diamonds, and they explain how important it is, what's the difference, and why this is that. And it really is an awesome experience, and they treat you like family. They're a family-owned business with with over 40-plus years of experience. They moved from Jewelers Row to Haddonfield, New Jersey. They don't use sale tactics. They just show you options, and they really do teach you about the product. They treat customers like you are family. DeSimone Jewelers customizes and manufactures every ring they make from start to finish on location, and because of that, they're actually able to beat all the competitors' prices out there. I've sent so many family members and friends to them, and I'm like, yo, you have to use them. I'm telling you, you have to go there. And I keep getting the same response. Damn. I know. It's truly incredible. Tell them Brodes sent you. You will know exactly what I mean the first moment you step in their door and create conversation and talk about what you're looking for. Seriously, tell them Brodes sent you. More information is down below in the description. That pass by Voracek was awesome, by the way, on that power play goal. I can't believe that they scored on the power play. They scored a couple seconds after the power play. They killed off some big penalties, too. Jake Voracek ended up getting called for a tripping with about 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game, and he was complaining he didn't like it because earlier on the left side of the offensive zone down in the corner, he got interfered with pretty good. It was like a drop pass, and he tried to make a drop pass and continue to go to the net, whether he was going to try and go back door or if he was going to cut hard short side. It looked like he was trying to go in that direction, and he got hit pretty good. He wasn't happy about it because that just happened. But that was a textbook trip for sure. Got his stick caught right up in the feet, and what do you know? You're all the way on the other side of your zone, and you're getting a bad penalty. But I thought Voracek played strong, and you definitely noticed him, and especially as the game went on, that third period was dominant for the orange and the black. But I'm bringing this up because the penalty kill was very big there. They also killed off a Kevin Hayes one as well. He had a cross-check, and things got chippy. There was after the whistle, 5 guys in, giving you a little stinky glove, a smelly glove in the face, couple cross-checks. So came up big there. The special teams. It's been a long damn time since we said special teams. And AV did say something about getting more involved with that special teams, and maybe there's a correlation there. I also think that since we're on the topic of what the head coach did, he threw out 7 defensemen, 11 forwards. Normally not a big fan. And with Scott Lawton specifically, I think it was Curtis Lazar off a draw or so at center ice, picked him up, slammed him down. He ended up leaving the game for a little bit of time, which left you with 10 forwards. I'm just not a big fan of 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. And if you look at the time on ice after the game, Robert Haig played about 8 minutes. Well, if you think Robert Haig is an 8-minute kind of guy, you're telling me you can't utilize those minutes with the forward and maybe have a better run at it? I don't know. If you're going to play a game that goes into overtime and Robert Haig plays you 8 minutes, why are we then scratching Bunneman or scratching somebody else? Why are we doing that? How come we don't go 12-6? I am more into the 12-6 concept. Does it have to do with where they are in this busy schedule? I don't know, but I'm not a big fan of 11-7, and it almost costed you because if Scott Lawton would have went down and would have been out for a longer period of time than he was, you're in some trouble for sure. You are absolutely in some trouble, and you're going to have some tired forwards out there, and that is a problem. Overtime. Sean Couturier had a breakaway, wasn't able to bury on Johansson, but he sure did in that shootout round. Couturier with a really nice play, showed some patience, and he shot the puck too. I think Keith Jones did a great job of explaining, look, Johansson's a tall goalie. You're not going to beat him deking, and that's what Sean Couturier tried to do in the overtime period, tried to deke, but you take up so much space when you're that big of a goalie, you can cover the whole entire crease and post to post by just going down and spreading out your legs. So why not try and shoot? And you saw him do it, and for someone that we've been ripping a lot, and deservingly so, and he still needs to be significantly better than what he's doing, I thought Nolan Patrick was very special in that shootout attempt. He came down, good speed, and it looked like the whole time he knew exactly what he was going to do. Patience, poise, let me rip it top shelf, and he blistered it by. It was a really nice shot from Nolan Patrick, and maybe, just maybe, that's something that's going to help him out because he needs everything. He needs anything to help him get going a bit, so let's pray that scoring a shootout goal, and a big one, is something that will spark Nolan Patrick. Let's not sell Brian Elliott short either, by the way, on the penalty shots. I always call it penalty shots. On the shootout. Darlene, good luck. Made some nice saves. All right, why don't we get to the anytime hotline? Hear what the people thought about tonight's win. Crucial, for sure crucial. And let's see if this sparks any sort of momentum when it comes to maybe putting some points together, getting some good wins. You shouldn't be satisfied, but you should be understanding of how crucial those 2 points are, if that makes sense. So I would imagine still criticizing the team, but being aware of how big it was. We'll see. Let's see if I'm right on my assessment here.
Yo, this win was ugly as hell. But I think we just need to conclude that this team is what it is. Let's just see how far it goes. And whatever run they can make is the run they can make. They're not ready for the Stanley Cup yet, but they can compete and they can win. So I guess that's who they are. I think this showed who they are, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think now what you're basically saying is there's enough of a sample size. You know now, because they played so many damn games, these errors that we keep screaming about and getting frustrated with in the D zone, that's who they have been all season long. So this is who they are. Yeah, you know what? There is a little bit of that I think is starting to settle in. Stop pulling your hair out. Stop spitting at the TV. Stop throwing punches at the air. Stop throwing the remote or punching the couch or punching the pillows, whatever you do. This is who they are. This is their roster. This is their talent at the moment. So, yeah, there is some of that. And I guess the frustrating part for me is I know that, but are you telling me this Pittsburgh Penguins team is that much better than the Flyers? Are you telling me the New York Islanders, even though I see their record and I know they were hanging around the top of I don't know if anyone surpassed them at this point. I'll check right now, but I know the other day they were in first, but they had more games played, so they're going to have more points. And okay, they're still sitting at the top with 36 points. Washington is 34. Pittsburgh is 31. Games played do matter, though, because the Bruins are 3 games back from the Islanders, so that plays a role. But my point is, I don't... The Islanders, I'm not sold on them. Yeah, as bad as the Flyers are, am I being way too optimistic to think that they could still be in like that 4th seed type of spot? I don't think they're top of this Eastern Conference. I don't think they're a Stanley Cup team. But I do think that they are a playoff team. They definitely are a playoff team. I do believe that. I think there's enough talent to be a playoff team, even with all of the issues that they have on their roster and on out there on the ice. So I'm not sold on Pittsburgh. I'm not sold on New York, even though I know that they're a team that understands how to get it done because of their scheme, and they've been playing under Barry Trotz for a while, so they have this thing going, but I question them in the playoffs. I guess regular season's different because I do think that they are a structured team for regular season and all. We do need to admit this is who they are. Then you need to start analyzing what's around you. And then that's where your feelings come out. Because you can recognize this is who they are, but still see them as a team that should be in the playoffs. And if they don't, it's very underwhelming. Specifically, if you relate where they were last year to the equation now. And I knew that they were going to take a step behind because of the loss of Matt Niskanen, but I never anticipated it being to this level of ugliness. I thought it would be worse. This is terrible. I mean, this is pathetic. But they're still good enough to be in like a 4th seed, in my opinion. I know that seems a little crazy and a little all over the place, but I do truly mean it.
Chuck Fletcher, trade for a D-man ASAP. Oh, my Lord. Happy we got the 2 points, but they just play so sloppy in that defensive zone. Definitely Carter Hart. I think it was a good call for him to get pulled tonight. I don't think he was that locked in tonight, but neither is those putrid defensemen either. We need a trade for a D-man now.
I think you are going to see Chuck Fletcher trade for a D-man, obviously. This team clearly needs help. I don't know. I hear a lot of this. Ooh, Chuck Fletcher has to get those phones going as if he can snap his fingers and fix everything. And I think I'm just trying to put it in this realistic view. I think you're going to get help. I think you're going to get a veteran defenseman. I think you're going to get someone in here who's going to push back some of the defensemen that are in the lineup now out of the lineup and playing less minutes, which is huge. I just don't know if this team and one defenseman is going to make that much of a difference. I guess the counter to that is we're in this situation now because of Matt Niskanen. So if you get an Ekholm, is that a guy that can maybe relate to a Matt Niskanen, and then it would allow Ivan Provorov to play a different version of himself, and then your second pairing of Sanheim and Phil Myers is a little bit stronger, and then your third pairing could be maybe Justin Braun and Shane Gostisbehere, and now you have a different feel? Sure, I think that there's like this false hope that Chuck Fletcher is going to be able to fix this team, and it kind of relates to the first caller too. You are what you are. And then if you go get one defense, you're going to have to help your team, right? When you're in this position, you get a piece. It's what happens. This is sports. When you're a team that's in contention, you make a move at the deadline to try and help your team. So you make that move. And then there's times where it's all in, and then there's times where it's just help your team out and see where it takes you. There's times where you got to recognize we are a Stanley Cup winning team. Mortgage the future. Go get your guys. Go help you win that Stanley Cup. This is the season. The window is now. But that's not where the Flyers are. So that's where I'm trying to dial in the expectations of what type of move should really be in place. You don't mortgage the future for where you are right now. You don't give up an insane amount to go do that. But you got to help your team out. You got to put them in a better position than they are now. If you go out and get one defenseman, is that enough for your liking when it comes to a move that Chuck Fletcher makes? Or do you demand him to do 2 or 3 moves, which at some point gets a little extreme, and I don't think it's a reality, but let's say 2 moves, a forward and a defenseman. Maybe now, we'd have to see the circumstances, what type of player. For example, you picked up a guy like Nate Thompson last year. Sure, that could help out your team, but is that something that really moves the needle for you? I don't know. I'm very interested to see how Chuck Fletcher's reading the room, and I know people hate hearing this, but it is a reality of the situation, the expansion draft.
Oh, my goodness. What just happened, man? We fell down early again to a bad Sabre team. Granted, we came back, but games like this cannot be happening. You can't expect to come back like this every single time. And AV, I hope you hear this. Brian Elliott needs to be the long-time starter for at least another week, 2 weeks. Let's continue this trend, man. Anytime, anywhere. Let's go. I'm out, Brodes.
Wow, he goes anytime, anywhere on me. He goes the Flyers hashtag. I think it's pretty clear that Brian Elliott's going to be the one rocking and rolling for a little bit of time. AV made it clear after the game, right? Talking about Brian Elliott, talking about where Carter Hart is, and even reading Carter Hart's body language is pretty telling, and hearing the tone in his voice. Kevin Durso, who covers the Flyers for 97.3 ESPN, put that out on Twitter until you can really recognize the difference. And by the way, Kevin Durso does a phenomenal job. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. And me and him actually do an NHL podcast, a full league podcast that drops Monday and Thursdays. You can find that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, called Open Ice Hits. The visual is also on my YouTube channel, Sports Talk with Brodes. So if you're interested in around the league coverage, we have Johnny Gaudreau of the Calgary Flames on every single week. So it's a really entertaining pod. But he brought up Carter Hart. He brought up the body language and just the way that he looks, the tone in his voice. And there's something up right now. And this is just called being a young athlete and finding a way in the professional level. It's not going to be easy, but this is standard. This circumstance that we're in of having a young 20-year-old in between the pipes is not normal. And to expect dominance right away, it's not true. It's not how this works. But with Brian Elliott, everyone can see it. It's not rocket science. The guy is the better goalie right now, and you're going to push forward with him because all of these points are extremely valuable, and they're extremely important, and you got to keep up. It is a tight race. As expected, we all knew when looking at it that there are going to be so many teams at the top of this Eastern Division. It is going to be a battle. All these games are 4-point swings. They are very crucial. You got to come out flying. You can't afford to have too many off nights. Teams are going to have off nights. Every team, every single team. The Bruins have off nights. The Washington Capitals have off nights. The Islanders have off nights. Any of these teams up at the top have off nights. You got to limit yours, though. You can't afford to have as many as you would in an 82-game season, or you're going to be stuck, and you're going to have too much of an uphill battle to climb into or to climb up at. Brian Elliott right now is the guy that deserves the playing time. And it's very, very noticeable. And I don't expect anything other than that.
Another big comeback win for the Fly guys tonight. You cannot lose to teams like Buffalo, and they got the job done. They were down 2 goals on 2 separate occasions, but they came roaring back, and they won. Now, here's an important question. Should we seriously be concerned about Carter Hart right now? Because it's not just the base numbers, because everyone knows that his numbers this year do not look good. But now it's like the eye test. He's not in position. He's letting up softer and softer goals every every game, And you can't blame the defense all the time because Brian Elliott's playing with the same exact defense in front of him, and he just looked great this year. So what are we going to be doing about this going forward? And that's just an honest question I'm going to ask to you, Brodes.
It's the hottest question in town for sure, and I just think it would be asinine, and I'm not saying you're saying this, I'm just saying in general, because I do see the reaction. I actually saw a Twitter poll after the game saying, is it time to move on from Carter Hart? And I really couldn't believe that I saw that, although I did believe that I would see it too, because it is Philadelphia, and that sounds about right. But look, it's just a bad stretch. It's a bad stretch. He doesn't look good right now. Does that mean I think that this kid's not going to be special? Or I don't think he's going to have a great career? The guy's going to be a stud. He's got all the intangibles. He has everything. He's not playing great hockey right now. All right, we saw him last year play fantastic. The decor in front of him was better. And you're right, Brian Elliott is doing a better job. I'll relate that to the Eagles, though, right? So the Philadelphia Eagles, and we'll tie it back to this, with Carson Wentz, just abysmal. You throw in Jalen Hurts, and it might look better, and he might be doing things differently than Carson Wentz. They went 1-3. They still were not good enough. They still had problems. So my point is, all right, you throw Brian Elliott. It might look better than Carter Hart because Carter Hart was struggling just like Carson Wentz was struggling. So Jalen Hurts looked better, but there are still so many other problems where, okay, guess what? Your team is still flawed. There are still things that have to be figured out. And if they don't, you're not going to be able to be the successful team that you want to be. So sure, Brian Elliott is playing better than Carter Hart. But if you're talking long term, there really isn't a discussion about Carter Hart. Because, well, what's the alternative here? Okay, so he has a bad 5, 6, 7, 8 games or so. Let's say he has a bad 2021 season. Trade him. Okay, and then what? Sign Brian Elliott? Like people wanted to do with Nick Foles, who blows, by the way. If you ever realized or pay attention to what Nick Foles does, he sucks. So not to say that would happen to Brian Elliott, but my point is, so what do you want to do? And once again, I'm not saying you specifically, general topic. So I know you asked the question. I don't want to make it seem like I'm raising my voice at you. I'm just, it fires me up a bit because what would you like to do then? Trade Carter Hart? Get him out of town? Because he had a bad one season? And do what? Draft another goalie and then wait for him to groom into something? Or trade for a goalie? Yeah, because people just have a ton of elite goalies out there on the market for you. No, the guys on the market are the guys that are on the market for a reason. Sure, you could get lucky and there's outliers here and there, but is that the way you want to build your franchise, by luck because of a small percentage of a chance? It's just a kid, a young player, experience a little bit of problems. That's all.
Well, first off, continuing the trend of unlikeliest of goal scorers against the Flyers in an NHL game, Brandon Montour lights the lamp tonight. Strange game all around. The strangest thing, I guess, kind of ironic, was that the special teams at the end won you the game. The power play goal and the killing off of the penalty on Voracek at the end. But that being said, let's be real here. They played the Buffalo Sabres, who are god-awful, and someone needs to call the Fletcher residence to see if Chuck is alive, because you've got to make some kind of move.
Here's my one thing to that, though. It would be different if every single team is just making a bunch of trades and getting out there and being explosive, and Chuck Fletcher was sitting on his hands. Trust me, he's making the calls. He's doing the homework. He's researching. He's doing what he needs to do. He's doing the proper preparation. I promise you that. So I'm with you. I'm waiting for something. You got to do something. You got to get better. But I would feel differently if all these teams are on the phone every single night. Big trades are breaking every day. Pierre LeBrun is on Twitter nonstop with his thumbs falling off. But that's not the case right now. So if that starts to happen and the Flyers continue to sit on their asses, well then, yeah, I think we can bring this topic back up. But right now, I think he's kind of going with the flow right now of what the trade market is and the speed of it and the pace of it and the trade deadline. He is with everybody else right now. And we'll see when things start opening up a little bit, when the floodgates start opening, if it all changes, and then we can resurface this conversation. But there is one thing I do need to tell you about before we end this show, and it's that time of the year again. Conference tournaments are tipping off. Bubble teams are making their final push for a bid, while the top seeds are preparing for what they hope is a long run. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting new customers in the center of the action. Bet $4 on an underdog, win $256 if they win. It's that simple. That's bet $4 on an underdog in select college basketball games, and if they win, you collect $256. The bank is open. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to turn $4 into $256 if the underdog of your choosing pulls off the upset. That's code Brodes to turn $4 into $256 for a limited time only at DraftKings. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Look, before we do head out of here, though, there is one line that I am just loving. I'm salivating out the mouth watching Joel Farabee and JVR, who gets on the scoreboard again, and Sean Couturier play together. I am so fascinated with these three, and they are a special unit. And the way that they keep flowing and vibing right now, it's an incredible watch, and I can't wait to see, when some guys just click and when they gel, when they're on the ice, you see them buzzing. There was a play, I don't know if it was tipped by Couturier, shot by Couturier, or tipped by Farabee. I forget exactly what happened in that third period, but it gets tipped, it gets redirected, or it goes right through, it hits the pipe. Like the way that they buzz around the ice, you could tell when there's a special combination of three guys, and right now, not that this is shocking to anybody, but right now, they are an incredible watch, and I just love watching them see each other, feel each other, when they can expect each other to be in certain areas of the ice, and they know, hey, if I rim the puck, there'll be someone on the other side. If I drop pass it, he'll be there. Hey, he's going back door, or he's driving to the net hard, and that's going to allow maybe Couturier to be wide open in the slot area. Like, they have it down right now, and it's incredible. The way that they started out the game scoring, and credit to Sanheim, of course, for even producing that goal by keeping it in. I just love it. I love what I'm seeing out of them. So thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you next time.